Today, we're going to be checking out the brand new xTool M1 Ultra. And as tradition around here, let's jump right into projects. And after that, we'll do all the yapping. I'm going to start by making my daughter a couple toys. For our first example, I'm going to use the 10-watt laser module to cut out and engrave this cool model airplane design I found on Etsy. Here you can see me using the pinpoint positioning system to tell the software the bounds of my 3mm plywood. The M1 Ultra doesn't come with a built-in camera like the original M1 does, but I find this positioning system works way better anyways. I plan on adding some paint afterwards, so I mask the surface of the next piece and score lines around the parts that I need to reveal. Here's a look at our finished airplane. Looks pretty awesome. I just kind of assembled it really quick off camera, of course. Thankfully, this isn't a painting YouTube channel because my paint job is awful, but that's okay because my daughter's going to destroy this thing in about 35 seconds once I give it to her. Not much to remark about on the laser module. Using this, cutting with 10 watts of power is never my preference. It's just, especially when you're cutting something thicker like wood, having at least 20 watts is probably the best option. So I ran 2 passes for every cut line. The second pass is just kind of an insurance cut to make sure it cuts all the way through everything. For our next project, I'm going to make some oversized magnet toys. To do this, I'm going to be combining 3 different modules in the M1 Ultra: the laser module, the inkjet module, and the fine point blade module. Starting with the laser module, I cut the shapes of the elephants out of 3mm plywood. Next, we have to swap modules. First, I remove the cutting tray and do a quick cleanup. After that, I remove the laser and insert the inkjet module. I also inserted the fine point cutting blade in the module to the left. Every time you use the inkjet printer, it will run a quick setup test and print on the little pad of paper there. Make sure your lines look even and consistent before starting your job. Instead of printing directly on the wood, I'm printing on some vinyl sticker paper. I figure the colors would be brighter and more vibrant on paper versus wood. I didn't have any graphics on hand, so I just used Midjourney AI to generate the elephant graphics for me. After the inkjet module finishes printing, the M1 Ultra automatically changes to the knife module and cuts out the graphic. Last step, I put down some adhesive magnet paper and used the fine point knife to cut out the shapes again so I can attach them to the wood. You really don't want to cut magnet paper or vinyl with a laser, so it's really cool to have the option to use the blades. All right, let's take a look at our finished animal magnets. These are awesome. As far as notes go on cutting and printing and all that stuff, same as before, since there's a 3mm piece of plywood in here. I would much prefer cutting with the 20-watt module. It's just, you can do it faster than using the 10-watt. But the cuts came out nice either way. The cutting of the vinyl paper and the magnet went just about as I suspected. I've never really done any blade cutting before, so that was fun and interesting to learn. And then the printer module looks good to me. It's not the same as if you had like a brilliant photo printer that's dedicated to printing out, high quality, high resolution photos or anything, but it gets the job done. I mean, this looks pretty awesome to me. I could have printed directly on the wood. You can do that. You'll see the people doing that in the other videos that you watch on the M1 Ultra. But I decided to print on the vinyl just for a nice, bright, brilliant look. But yeah, these are awesome. I'm going to go throw them on the refrigerator and see how she likes them. For our remaining projects, we're going to move a little bit more quickly. To test the heavy-duty cutting blade, I cut out some example leather bookmarks. I suggest running 2 or more passes because each pass, the knife will change direction, and I found that resulted in nicer cuts. Let's take a look at our bookmark example here. This is, a pretty basic little project example, but I wanted to do these to prove a point that yes, you could use the laser module to cut these bookmarks, especially if it's out of leather. But there are some scenarios where you wouldn't want to do that. One, you don't want your leather bookmarks smelling like charred flesh, which, it doesn't smell good, and you have to go ahead and clean up all the edges after you cut your bookmarks. So that's one reason you wouldn't want to use the laser. And another reason would be if you're not sure what the source of your leather is. There's a lot of quote-unquote leather that you can buy online that's not actually leather. Anytime you see fake leather, PU leather, if you're not 100% sure that that's laser-safe leather, it might have PVC in it, in which case you don't want to be laser cutting it. So, plenty of scenarios where using the heavy knife cutting blade just to cut out your leather bookmarks is the route you would want to go. Next up, I'm going to test out the pen module. I completely destroyed my black and blue pens on my first attempts, so let's try red. I'll talk about what happened in a minute. The pen module allows you to trace lines or color fill. I chose to color fill and also add a stroke line around it, which is exactly what I was looking to do. Now let's take a look at our finished pen module example. Really cool. It's really precise. You can see some of the fill lines. I don't know if you can see it on the camera here, but in person. You know, I did a fill, so I filled in the area, so it was going back and forth filling in the shapes. And the markers that come with, or the pens, whatever they're calling these, that come with the module are 0.4 tip. And it probably would have benefited me to have a thicker pen to do the fill-ins, but it worked fine. And, you know, this thickness of marker will be great for like nice calligraphy and stuff like that. I mentioned that I destroyed these two, which I did. I completely bent the tips on these two, and I'll tell you why. So my initial goal was to write on the cover of this thick notebook here. And, you know, I loaded my pen into the module and not thinking that there was nowhere for me to set the focus distance to like how thick this is. Could you see how thick this book is? And it's expecting it to be all the way down here like a piece of paper. So this extra thickness really threw off the module, and it just dug into this cover and just dragged it across. You could see the mark there. So I completely wrecked both of them. I don't know why I didn't think about that ahead of time, but anytime you have a module where you're not setting the focus for how thick something is, just assume that it's expecting it to be like a piece of paper, so flat on the surface like that. So learn from me and don't destroy your markers. Otherwise, really nice result. Next up, we're going to test out the gold foil tip. First things first, I'm going to use the fine point blade to cut a smaller piece of cardstock paper. After it finishes cutting, I tape on some gold foil transfer paper and run my job. The gold foil tip module is pressing the gold foil into the paper, and the excess should remove nice and clean. At least that's what I'm hoping for. All right, let's look at our final gold foil example. I love this. The gold foil tip was actually the module I was most excited to try out of everything because I love the way gold foil looks. It just looks super expensive and fancy, and this came out great. You know, it doesn't come off. The lines were nice and precise. Really cool. The gold foil I used came from this Cricut foil transfer sheets pack. So I don't know about where you guys live, but the Michaels in my area has an entire aisle dedicated to Cricut stuff. And a lot of that stuff, like the markers, I think the markers at least, don't quote me on that, but it definitely like the paper and the foil transfer sheets and stuff, all that stuff you can get in that aisle will work with the M1 Ultra. So you don't have to go out and find crazy supplies to do this kind of stuff. This is just a piece of blue cardstock with the gold foil, and I love the way it came out. For our last example, I'm going to do a photo engraving on an anodized aluminum card. I've gotten pretty good at these over the years, so I'll be excited to see how it performs.
System shut down.
And let's take a look at that card we just engraved. Just absolutely beautiful. It almost looks like a photo just printed onto this anodized aluminum business card. Look, there's not a whole lot of things. I prefer a 10-watt laser over a 20-watt or a 40-watt. But one thing that it does do well is really, really detailed, beautiful engravings like this, because the laser beam is so fine that it can really just get all of those details. And this is just awesome looking. Love it. Now I want to do a walkthrough of this laser and show you all the different aspects of it. I'll show you how the modules swap in and out, and we'll just talk about it in general for a minute. And I'll give my thoughts on each module as we go through it. So here is what your xTool M1 Ultra looks like. Beautiful little machine. Size-wise, it is about 24 inches long, 19.5 inches wide, and about 7 inches tall. As far as weight goes, it's not the heaviest, but you know, it's definitely got a little bit of heft to it. You can definitely move it around as one person. I wouldn't worry about that. We have the nice laser safe screen on the top here. Big, beautiful, wide viewing area, which I love. I hate those lasers where it feels like you're looking into like a well to watch your material, so you can see it from all angles using this screen. Down here at the front, we have the, I don't know what these buttons are actually called, but this is kind of like the action button. So when you're doing your framing or you're starting your job, this is the button you push, and you have the button right here, which is used for marking your processing area, which you will do a lot using the M1 Ultra for sure. Moving around to the back. Down here, we have all of the standard fare ports and options you have here, on-off switch. We have a input for the air assist. We have an input for, I think this is fire. And you have a bunch of ports here, open ports. And here is where the exhaust sets in. This is interesting because if you've ever used any of the other xTool machines like the S1 or the P2, the exhaust is kind of just built into the machine. But this one, you can actually just remove it. And you can see how disgusting that is because I've been using it a lot. So the fan is not, I think the fan's in here, right? Yeah, so the fan is actually in this module here instead of in the machine, which is really cool because there are plenty of times when you don't need to have this connected at all. If you're just running the blade or you're running the gold foiling or the pens, the fan doesn't run and you don't need to exhaust it at all. So you can just run it like this. But if you are laser cutting, you're going to want to have this on here, and you have to keep the filter material in here. It gets dirty pretty quick, but thankfully they send you some spare material. I'll swap mine out here because, you know, that looks really bad. And then you just go like that, swap it in, throw this away. And that is how the exhaust system works. Moving on to the inside. Here is our working area. It's a nice black bottom there. And you have all of these different outlines here. These are for aligning certain mats and grids and stuff like that. We'll talk about that. And then you have the 4 circles here. These are targets for if you want to try using the camera phone feature where you take a picture of your work area to use a camera, because this machine does not come with a built-in camera. You're going to be using the marking system, which in my opinion is way better than using a camera. Let's look at the modules now. So your gantry is here, and your modules sit on the gantry. There's always 2. Well, there's always 1. Let's say that. So here is the laser. This module here in my right hand can be removed. This module over here cannot be removed. It just stays there. And so all the swapping you will be doing is on this right-hand side. This is the 10-watt laser module. It also has an option for a 20-watt laser module. I don't have the 20-watt, but that is the one I would buy if I were buying this machine now. You know, 10 watts fine if you're not going to be doing a lot of cutting and, you know, thicker materials like wood and stuff like that. But if you're going to be cutting out wood like you saw me do in the examples, like those little airplanes and magnets and all that stuff, I suggest getting the 20 watt. It just does the work faster and more completely. But look how easy it is to swap these in and out. So here's the 10-watt laser module. All you have to do, pop it in and lock it. If you forgot to lock this, the software will alert you before the job starts. That's because I know that because I did it probably 5 to 6 times. I forgot to lock this. So super easy to swap things in and out, just like that. I'll leave it in there for a sec. Over on this side, we have the permanent attachment. And in here, you'll be adding a couple different items. So this one right now I have is the what do I have in here right now? So this is the fine point blade. See the blade there. And this one sits just like that in there. This side will also house the pens. So the pens that you get for the pen module go like this. Comes with a holder, a pen holder. Pop it in like that. And then this just kind of wraps around. And voila, it's in. So I'll just leave this empty, and you can just leave these empty like this. You don't have to actually keep anything in there if you're not using it. And it has these nice magnet attachments, which are really cool. Yeah, but always make sure you watch your fingers when you're swapping these in and out, especially when you're using the blades, because you can easily cut yourself. Since the laser module is already in here, let's talk about what you'd be using to put on your base. And what you get with the M1 Ultra is this triangular prism system. If you've ever used another xTool product, you probably recognize this. But what this does is keeps your material that you're cutting, like your wood, off of the bottom of the surface, because you need airflow under the material that you're cutting to properly laser cut it. So what you do is you align this to these 4 corners here and just kind of sit it in there. Honestly, it doesn't really matter too much how you set it in there, but that's what this is for. It also, the M1 Ultra also comes with an option for a honeycomb bottom and a riser base. So if you want to use a honeycomb bottom, you have to have the riser base. It's like a package deal, I believe. I don't have that, but I wish I did. There were plenty, you know, when I was cutting all the small pieces for the airplane, like the wheels and all the little external pieces, they kept falling down through here and getting run over by the laser. If I had the honeycomb bed, that would not happen, and that's what I would recommend to you if you're going to be laser cutting a lot of small little pieces. It just makes it a lot easier, and it's well worth the money. The only thing I did not like about this setup is I wish this had grooves or something that it would just like pop into, or maybe magnets. I don't know how it would work. But if I could just pop this in and it would just sit and not move around like this, it gets kind of annoying when you're moving your material around and then the base moves too. So my on my wish list, I would add that this triangular prism stand here had a way to just kind of pop in place and let it sit there. All right, next up, let's talk about the inkjet module. So I'm going to pop it out, pop out the laser. You just move it over anywhere you want. And then here is the inkjet module. So it comes with a little bit different setup. So this one has a connector cable, and then this has a cover on here, which you got to remember to take off. So let's take it off so I can give you a look before I put it on. And that is what the bottom of the inkjet module looks like. I know for a fact, I was told by xTool that the inkjet cartridge that's in there is just an Epson inkjet. You just got to find what it is. You could probably ask them, but you can just go to like Staples or order it on Amazon. You don't have to buy their replacement inkjet cartridge. It'll fit right in there. I just don't know the model off the top of my head. So this one attaches very similar to the other one. Pop it in place, and then you just connect the cable here and lock it. And now your inkjet is installed. First thing you're going to remember to do is take off your cover. I forgot to take off my cover many times when I was running. And you'll also get this little plastic attachment here with a little pad of paper. See this? So what this does is going to be for your setup to make sure that your inkjet is printing correctly. And this goes over here in the corner. It just sits like this. And then your cover goes here. So every time you start your job with your inkjet printer, it's going to come over here. You saw it in the video. It's going to write on this pad. So make sure that your lines look good. If it's smudged or one color isn't coming out, I would stop the job right there and make sure that the bottom of this is clean and that it's printing nicely. Otherwise, your job might not come out looking too good. And then after you're done, after your job runs, it'll come over here and it'll automatically pick up the cover and then go back and then home back to its original home up in the corner like this. So every time you run a job, you have to remember to take off your cover and put it in the corner over here. As far as the inkjet printer, look, I'm not a printing guy. I don't understand, the intricacies of color and DPI and all that stuff, but they looked good for what I was doing. And my wish list item that I would like to see from xTool for this is in the future, if there was a way to run this without the cover on, because I was doing a lot of testing where I was doing a really small print, and every single time I had to take the cover off, it would run its whole thing, and I'd have to remember to take the cover off again every 2 seconds. So it'd be cool if there was a way to just run jobs quickly and not have to worry about taking the cover on and off. But again, it's not a big deal, but it was just something that, I forgot to do several times. Next up, let's swap this out. Goodbye, inkjet. Oop. Is the multi-function carriage. So there'll be a bunch of different attachments to go in here, and I know they're making more. So the ones that it comes with, that's not the end of what you'll be able to get. Right now I have the foil tip in there. You can see it's kind of just a little metal spike. And how this one works is similar to the pen. You just pop it out, pull it. So all the attachments that have this arrow like that, those go into the multi-function carriage, which would be like, what's this? This is the heavier duty knife cutting blade. That would just pop in there. And this one is the rotary blade for like denim and fabric and stuff like that. Again, they just pop right in there. So I'll put the gold foil back. Super simple. Magnetic case right back on top. Oop. Pops in, lock it. Now you're ready to go. And when you're working with anything other than the laser, you're going to want to use one of the mats that they provide. So the one that I've been using that you saw in the video is this blue one. And this blue mat is for everything that's not fabric. So you would just align it here to the square alignment zone, pop it down. It's nice and sticky, so everything you put down in here is going to stick to it. And it keeps it flat against the surface. And if you are doing fabric, this I haven't opened it yet because I haven't done any fabric, but they have this pink one. Same deal. It'll go down here. Maybe it's just lower level stick. I don't know. I haven't even opened it yet. But those two come with your package. But you don't want to keep those in there if you're running the laser for sure. And last but not least, let's talk about how this works as multi-function. So when I did the magnet project, right? I had the inkjet in here, and I had the fine point blade in this one. So what I would do, I set up my job in Creative Space to print and then cut it out. So you don't have to actually do anything when that happens. It will run, the software will figure it out. It will know that it has to print first. And then once it's done, it'll reset, and then it'll run over with the blade and cut out your job. If you are running a multi-function job where it's two tools that fit in this space, so let's say it was an inkjet and then a thicker cutting blade or something like that, it'll tell you that you have to swap out the module. It'll say, take out the module, put the other one in, hit start, and then it'll complete the job. So it's super smart. The software knows exactly what you're doing, and it allows you to swap between multiple tools very, very easily. I want to wrap things up by talking about who I think should consider the M1 Ultra. To me, this machine is clearly designed with the hobby crafter in mind. If you're someone who likes making your own party decorations or wedding invitations, or instead of long walks on the beach, you like long walks through Hobby Lobby or Michael's, the M1 Ultra was made for you. Similar to the original M1, you aren't limited to just laser engraving and laser cutting like you are with the F1, S1, or P2. There are plenty of craft materials out there like vinyl and magnets that you shouldn't be lasering, but having the M1 Ultra, you can process them by other means. The addition of the inkjet module allows you to print and cut color stickers, labels, artwork, sublimations. I'm probably missing a bunch here. It's actually overwhelming thinking of all the different combinations of materials you can process. So if you're drawn to the mixed media capabilities, the M1 Ultra should definitely be considered. If you're someone who's really only interested in laser engraving and laser cutting, you should probably look at the other xTool models like the S1, F1 Ultra, or P2, depending on what you're trying to make. That being said, if you're interested in picking up your own M1 Ultra, there's a link in the video description below. I also link to all the materials I used in this video if you want to try any of them out. The model airplane was especially fun to make. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.